Good morning. Today we're going to continue almost the same lesson on David giving instructions to Solomon. This is a different reading though, so we're going to read 1 Chronicles 28:5 through 29:1. So pause me and read 1 Chronicles 28:5 through 29:1, and I'll be here when you get back. Okay, verses 5 through 7, this is so confusing because we get caught up with what David believes God told him and what God actually is recorded as telling David. So we're going to read again. I know we just got through reading, but I want you to pause me for a minute and flip over to 2 Samuel 7:11 through 16. So it's 2 Samuel 7:11 through 16. Pause me, read that real quick, it's short, and then come back. Okay, this is where David wants to build the temple himself, and God says no. And you can read in there that there's no mention of Solomon, no mention of really it being David's son. What is mentioned, and this is a heavenly kingdom that God is talking about, a heavenly house. He's going to set up his house through the line of David. And what God is talking about, according to some commentators, is Jesus and heaven. David has no concept of Jesus in heaven. So he's thinking everything is going to be close Israel related. It's going to be a kingdom, an earthly kingdom. So he can only envision it being his son. So David's misunderstanding, if that's what it is very understandable at this point. But he is all in on Solomon is the guy. Solomon is the guy. So from Solomon's point of view, which the study is about, that's all he knows. He just knows that he's the guy. Dad's given him these instructions, regardless of how close he is to Dad or not, that this is his duty as the new king. And back into Chronicles, verses 8 through 10, David is telling Solomon, you got to follow the law. You got to follow God's law. You got to do what he says. You've got to serve with devotion. And the reason you need to serve with devotion is because God understands your motives. And that could be the lesson for the day. God understands your motives even when you don't really dig deep enough to figure out what your motives are. God knows what your motives are. And that's kind of scary. So we need to be sure that our hearts and minds are aware, mindfulness of why we're thinking, acting, saying what we do. And then David goes on and tells Solomon, be strong and do the work. I know, second lesson in one day. Do the work. So in verses 11 through 19, there's these details of the temple. In verse 12, David says the Spirit put this on his mind. And in verse 19, he says he has the plan in writing that was given to him by the Lord. Well, yes, because the plan was given to Moses, and David is very aware of the plan. He is very familiar with the Torah where Moses was given the plan. And so the Spirit did lead him, even though the Holy Spirit at that time, I'm not going to say he's not there, but he's not as active as in the New Testament. So there's some controversy there. But this temple plan is modeled after the tabernacle plan. It's 2 times as big, but it's pretty much the same as the tabernacle plan. And then in verses 20 through 21 of 1 Chronicles 28, same chapter, David tells Solomon again, you do the work. You got to do the work. Planning is great, but you got to do the work. And you're going to have help. In verse 21, it says willing help. So we'll get into that in later lessons. But right now the help is willing. And then verse 29:1, David tells the assembly, Solomon was chosen by God, but he's young and inexperienced. So he goes on to tell what all he's given and everything, but basically he's telling the people that you're going to have to help this guy. So that's it for today. 2 lessons. 1, God knows your motives even when you don't. And 2, you got to do the work. You got to do the work.